Welcome to Impact by DIFFA Dallas, the official podcast of the Dallas chapter of the Design Industries Foundation Fighting AIDS. We'll share valuable info about the fight against HIV and AIDS, what our organization is doing to assist those in our community, and most importantly, how you can help us make a real impact.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Impact. I'm your host, Shane Allen. What we're going to talk about today is kind of a big deal among nonprofits, not just for DIFFA, but our beneficiaries. And we're talking about raising money and how difficult that has been in the time of COVID. It's an awkward conversation to have, but I think it's a worthy conversation to have because I feel like it's important to shed light on how difficult it is to do good when less money is coming in. I'm just going to be blunt about it. And I actually brought in one of the beneficiaries of DIFFA, Auntjuan Wiley, who is the president and CEO of AIDS Walk South Dallas. Thanks for joining us
Thanks
today.
so much for having me, Shane.
So first of all, tell us about AIDS Walk South Dallas for someone who doesn't know.
So AIDS Walk South Dallas was founded in 2009, and originally it was just about a walk. But I've been doing this work for over 30 years, and so there was no way that I could just have a walk. And so I began to create programs and services that we would operate 365 days a year, just to go along with the walk. Keep it under the same name, but making sure that they understand that we are moving and shaking in this city all year long,
Right.
Trying to make sure that the needs of our clients are met.
Consistently walking forward.
Consistently walking forward. Absolutely. I like that.
Trademark Shane Allen. Just don't steal it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what giving was like in 2020 in the world of nonprofit. You know, giving was historically down, I think,
Yes,
across the
yes.
board, despite some success that North Texas Day of Giving had. I think it was their biggest year ever.
Right.
That was a surprise to a lot of us.
Right.
But giving was down in 2020, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially for us, our largest fundraiser of the year is the walk. And so unfortunately, we were not able to host the walk. And I was not really interested in doing a virtual walk because I wanted to be trained and learn about how a virtual walk actually works, especially when it comes to the fundraising piece. And so we missed that very large amount of money that we make every year. And so what we had to do as an organization is become more creative and innovative in the ways that we raise money. We still had our pharmaceutical partners and our pharmacy partners, and of course DIFFA, and we were able to garner some additional support from some corporations and foundations who were specifically giving because of COVID. So that really made a difference for our organization, I'm sure, as for many others.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And for an organization like DIFFA, who hosts the best events of the
Absolutely.
season to raise money,
Absolutely.
for an organization like yours, who hosts an in-person walk
Yeah.
to raise money, it's difficult to do that.
Absolutely.
And now we're in a place, the royal we, the nonprofit industry, we're in a place where we're asking for individual giving.
Yes.
And I know for DIFFA, that's something that we're not used to doing. We've done it, and thanks to our patrons and to our sponsors who have stuck with us, we'll have a relatively successful season.
Absolutely.
And I'm guessing you're having to switch gears and do the same, right?
We're actually switching a lot of gears. Once again, we're really having to come out of the box and think outside even the realm of HIV these days. You really have to expand your mission statement to look at other avenues to keep your programs and services supported. And that's what we've had to do. But I will say that we have been very successful with that. And it's really based on relationship building. It's really made a difference to build new relationships, those that are going to be with you for a long time, those that really believe in your mission and what you're doing in the community. It's so vital to have those really long-standing relationships. And so we're still walking forward. One of the things that we did, one of our largest programs is our National Strength Conference for men living with HIV. One of the programs that DIFFA has been supporting for several years, we were able to host it but we did it very safely. We didn't have as many guys to participate, but they came in because they needed, the men living with HIV needed a space to come and just refresh and reflect and just to come out of the house, pretty much.
Togetherness, basically.
Just to be together
Yeah.
in a space. And we made sure that the space was safe, that we had hand sanitizing stations all over the hotel, that people were wearing their mask and face mask and social distancing, but we were still able to give them what they needed and provide them with the education and support that they were so desperately needing, and just the fellowship of brotherhood
Right.
outside of their home.
In a time of COVID, what was the kind of the after action surveys, so to speak, to use a very
Well-
corporate term? Like, what was their response to?
Well,
to the event?
they enjoyed it. I required everyone to get a COVID test before they arrived.
Nice.
No one had an issue, and I encouraged them once they got home to get a COVID test as well, just to make sure everybody's good, because the safety of the clients is the priority.
Right.
And no one has called or emailed or texted and said that they were impacted by COVID. So that's a wonderful thing. And we appreciate all of our partners and sponsors who still came on board. And a lot of them did that virtually. But they wanted to make sure that the conference happened. And so they did whatever they had to do to make sure that we still move forward.
So let's talk about 2021.
Okay.
Let's look at our crystal ball of 2021.
Right.
One of these days, there's a vaccine rollout. Not everyone's vaccinated yet, but it's
Absolutely.
happening. I still think that no one can see beyond the horizon of COVID right
Absolutely.
now. But one of these days, it's going to be, knock on wood, it's going to be one of those things that people talk about, like the swine flu, or
Absolutely.
it's just something of the past, right? So how do you think that fundraising, or will it, do you think it's going to pick up in 2021?
I think that it may pick up a little bit. I think as we continue to spread these kind of messages, Shane, that people actually see the work is still being done. And I think that's what we have to make clear to the world, that we're still moving forward. Our doors are still opening. Our doors are still open. We still have clients that have to be served, regardless of COVID. Before there was COVID, there was HIV.
Right.
And so clients they still have needs that have to be met. And so we're hoping that those that are watching are listening to what we're saying, and they are reaching into their pockets. They are sharing their resources and their connections to make sure that the needs of the clients that are being served are still met. And so I believe that sometimes, for the lack of a better phrase, you have to pull on those heartstrings.
Right.
And let them know that we're still out here working. And I believe that it will pick up, because I think with the vaccine rollout and with the changes that we're seeing even on today, that we are moving in a better direction.
Yeah.
That our world is coming back together to a place of unity. And we're hoping that those that are watching are still ready to support our organizations like DIFFA and AIDS Walk South Dallas.
Yeah, and I've said this before. The people who need the services that you help provide, that the other organizations that DIFFA helps fund provides, direct care services. Some people can't even afford their HIV medication,
Absolutely.
or it weren't for some of the organizations that DIFFA helps fund. You talk about getting men together so they don't feel so alone,
Absolutely.
especially in a time of COVID. You talk about food banks. I mean, these basic needs that we help provide, that your organization helps provide, they didn't go away with COVID.
Absolutely.
And it's even more difficult to do all that good in the community with less money.
Absolutely.
And this isn't meant to be, although you would be a really good live telethon person. I was getting into my pocketbook. I was like, how much money?
Right.
That was good. But this isn't meant to be one of those types of conversations, but it's important, I think, for people to realize
Yes.
we haven't stopped.
Right.
DIFFA hasn't stopped. Our beneficiaries haven't stopped. AIDS Walk South Dallas hasn't
Absolutely.
stopped. So just be aware of that. Even though these fabulous events aren't going on, the need is still there.
Absolutely.
Right? I think by the end of the year, I'm going to predict by, this is off of no information, this is a hypothesis at best. By the fall, I think we'll be ready to have events again.
Absolutely.
And I should also preference that this is no means officially like what DIFFA is thinking. I'm just thinking like in general. Don't read into this about when a certain DIFFA event might happen.
Right.
But I'm just thinking like by the fall, I think we'll all be in that place where most everyone's vaccinated.
Absolutely.
Who's going to get vaccinated. And because there unfortunately will be people who won't or can't by no fault of their own. And I think, I think we'll start seeing it ramp up then. But I really hope that we've collectively all raised enough to at least stayed in business.
Right.
I would hate it if I heard that AIDS Walk South Dallas had to close their doors. I would hate it if Samaritan House had to close their doors. And these very, very East Texas Cares, who's an organization in outside of Tyler who provides food and necessities to people. It's like the resource center of East Texas. If they shut their doors, the dramatic negative impact that would have in that community.
Absolutely.
So don't forget that. As you're around, as you're seeing things, as you have a little extra money going along, don't forget that these very worthy organizations are still trying to function on shoestring COVID budgets.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else you want to add that I didn't ask or we didn't talk about?
I just want to say thank you guys so much for your support. And I do want to encourage every organization to really, really think out the box. I know you heard me say that. But that's one of the things that I preach in every committee meeting, every Wine Right Planning Council. We must get to a place where these times are going to come again, and we need to prepare ourselves. And that means expanding your mission statement, expanding your vision, coming out of the box, looking at other sponsors and looking at other organizations and corporations that can build relationships. That you can really, really depend on them in a crunch like this. We've burned out the pharmaceutical companies. We've burned out a lot of these corporations. But there's a lot of people out there that are willing to give. They just need to know what you're doing and how you're going to make sure their money works for them as well.
Just ask, right?
I scratch your back, you scratch mine. That's what it's about.
Auntjuan, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You can learn more about AIDS Walk South Dallas and about DIFFA Dallas at www.diffadallas.org. I'm Shane Allen. Until next time, everyone.